my spiritual master. Practically, I met him in 1922, and this poetry was written in 1936. That means 14 years before writing this poetry, I met my Guru Maharaj in 1922. At that time, I was quite a young man, 25 years old only, and I was posted in a very responsible position as the office manager of Dr. Bose's laboratory, and I was fond of, in those days, of Gandhi's movement. In 1922, I joined Gandhi's movement and I gave up my education and career because one of the Gandhi's program was to boycott the universities. That's a very long story. Many students gave up their educational career and joined this Gandhi's movement, and I was one of them. So, Dr. Bose, Kartik Chandra Bose, is a very important man at that time. He was managing director of Bengal Chemical Company. Now there is a street in the central Calcutta, Dr. Kartik Bose Street. So he was a very important man, and he was our family physician and my father's very intimate friend. So, when I gave up my education and I was joining Gandhi's movement, at that time Dr. Kartik Chandra Bose asked me to join him. So with the permission of my father, I joined. So I was fond of, at that time, the Gandhi non-cooperation movement, and then when I joined Dr. Bose's laboratory, first I was dressed in khadgar. So Dr. Bose liked that dress, khadgar dress. He told me one day that out of your whole Gandhi's movement, I like this khadgar only. Dr. Bose said. And why? Because this will give impetus to industry. This hand spinning will gradually give impetus to India. Actually, that happened. He was himself an industrialist. Actually, in India, the chemical industry was given birth by Dr. Kartik Chandra Bose. He was a very important man. He started with Bengal Chemical. So in 1922, I met my Guru Maharaj through the exigency of my intimate friend, Mr. Narendranath Malli. I would not go. He told me information, there is a nice sadhu, let us go and see. I did not like very much these sadhus in those days. national spirit. So I said, I have seen many sadhus, they come at my father's care. I was not very much pleased with their behavior. So he dragged me, forcibly. No, I have heard this person is very exalted. So I went, and his first opening version was that you are educated young man, why don't you preach Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's gospel in the Western country? I did not know. So this was his blessing in the first meeting. I did not know, but because we belong to a Vaishnava family, we were very much worshipper of Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda, our family deity. So I was very much pleased that here is a personality who is going to preach Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's gospel. I was very much pleased. So anyway, from 1922 to 1933, practically I was not initiated, but I got the impression of preaching Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's cult. That I was thinking. And that was the initiation by my Guru Maharaj. Then officially I was initiated in 1933 because
जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जगद्गुरु श्रीला प्रभुपदा
जय प्रभुपदा प्रभुपदा जगद्गुरु श्रीला प्रभुपदा
जय जय गुरुदेव प्रभुपाद गुरुदेव श्रीला प्रभुपाद
जय गुरुदेव प्रभुपाद गुरुदेव श्रीला प्रभुपाद
जीवे राधा राधा दुखी श्रीला प्रभुपाद
जीवे राधा दुखी श्रीला प्रभुपाद
जीवे राधा राधा दुखी श्रीला प्रभुपाद
जीवे राधा राधा दुखी श्रीला प्रभुपाद
विरह वासरे तवा हेरिया वसादा
विरह सरे तवा तेरी अवसादा
विरह वासरे तवा हेरिया वसादा
विरह सरे तवा तेरी अवसादा
महावदन्याय अवतार श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य गाता श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य
महावदन्यगावता श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य
कृष्ण नाम प्रेम दिया विश्व कैला धन्या
कृष्ण नाम प्रेम दिया विश्व कैल धन्य
कृष्ण नाम प्रेम दिया विश्व कैला धन्या
कृष्ण नाम प्रेम दिया विश्व कैल धन्य
जीवे राधा राधा दुखी श्रीला प्रभुपाद
प्रभुपाद
आपनी सीता प्रभु मूर्ता गौरवाणी
अपनी सीता प्रभु मूर्त गौरवाणी
आपनी सीता प्रभु मूर्ता गौरवाणी
अपनी सीता प्रभु मूर्त गौरवाणी
पृथ्वीर सर्व ग्रामे श्री नाम दानी
पृथ्वीर सर्व ग्रामे से नामधारी
पृथ्वीर सर्व ग्रामे श्री नाम दानी
पृथ्वीर सर्व ग्रामे से नामधारी
जीवे राधा राधा दुखी श्रीला प्रभुपादा
जीवे राधा राधा दुखी श्रील प्रभुपादा
पाठाईला निजा भक्ते सुदूर पाश्चात्ये
पाठाईला निजा भक्ते सुदूर पाशाते
पाठाईला निजा भक्ते सुदूर पाश्चात्ये
पाठाईला निजा भक्ते सुदूर पाशाते
भारत भ्रमिले निजे आर दक्षिणाते
भारत ब्रह्मीरे निजे हर दक्षिणाते
जीवे राधा राधा दुखी श्रीला प्रभुपादा
शिवे राधा राधा दुखी श्रील प्रभुपादा
शुद्ध गौर गाथायते विघ्न जन बुझे
शुद्ध गौर गातायते विज्ञान बुझे
शुद्ध गौर गाथा
गौरगातायते विज्ञान बुद्धे
गाता चिंता करो प्रभु विरोधी के यूझे
चिंता करो प्रभु विरोधी के युद्धे
जीवे राधा राधा दुखी लीला प्रभु पादा
जीवे राधा राधा दुखी श्रील प्रभुपादा
जीवन स्तारिते गौरा करे ये चातुरी
जीवन स्तरिते गौरा करे चतुरी
जीवन स्तारिते गौरा करे ये चातुरी
जीवन स्तरिते गौरा करे चतुरी
आपनी बुझिले से सब भार भूरी
अपनी बुझिले से सब भारी भूरी
जीवे राधा राधा दुखी लीला प्रभु पादा
जीवे राधा राधा दुखी श्रील प्रभुपादा
देश काल पात्र जानी प्रचार प्रबंध
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 देखियाओ नहीं देखे उलू का दियंधा
देखिया नहीं देखे गुरु का दिया
जीवे राधा राधा दुखी लीला प्रभु पादा
जीवे राधा राधा दुखी श्रील प्रभुपादा
औलिया सहजिया की बुझी बेताहा
औलिया सहजिया की बुझी बेटा
गड्डाली कन्हैया का बूझी पारे कहाँ
गड्डाली कन्हैया का बुझी पारे काना
जीवे राधा राधा दुखी लीला प्रभु पादा
जीवे राधा राधा दुखी श्रील प्रभुपादा
विराह वासरे कब हिरिया वसादा
विरह वसरे
गिरे राधा राधा लीला प्रभुपाद
लीला प्रभुपाद
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे
जय प्रभुपदा 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 जय प्रभुपदा
प्रभुपदा प्रभुपदा प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा
जय भक्ति सिद्धांत ठाकुर प्रभुपदा भक्ति सिद्धांत ठाकुर प्रभुपदा
जय भक्ति सिद्धांत ठाकुर प्रभुपदा भक्ति सिद्धांत ठाकुर प्रभुपदा
जय भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपदा भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपदा
जय भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपदा भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपदा
जय गुरुदेव प्रभुपाद गुरुदेव श्रीला प्रभुपाद
जय गुरुदेव प्रभुपाद गुरुदेव जय श्रीला प्रभुपाद.
So today we are observing Srila Prabhupada Diksha Divas. It was on this day that Srila Prabhupada got initiated from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So we will read some of the recollections by Srila Prabhupada himself and by the initiated disciples of Srila Prabhupada, on how Srila Prabhupada received the first and second initiation from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta. Srila Prabhupada spoke about his initiation quite a few times during the talks, during the lectures, during the room conversations, and when he spoke, his disciples also recorded certain wonderful instructions and how the whole story of Srila Prabhupada's initiation. So all of them have been collated together, and I will read them. So we will begin with how Srila Prabhupada met Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur for the first time, from that point till the point when he received initiation. So that is the flow. So this is Srila Prabhupada's first meeting. He was known as Abhay Babu, Abhay Charan De. So Abhay's first meeting with Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, which happened in Calcutta, Kolkata. Following is an excerpt from lecture given by Srila Prabhupada on the occasion of disappearance day of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. The occasion is that 1973 at Los Angeles. Srila Prabhupada. So when I met Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, it is a long story how I met him. One of my friends, so he's telling the story, one of my friends, he dragged me. I was at that time nationalist and manager in a big chemical factory. My age was about 24 years. So one of my friends, he asked me that there is a nice sadhu, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He has come to Calcutta, so let us go and see. But I was reluctant. I thought, just like so, there are so many sadhus. So I was not very much, because I had a very bad experience, not very good experience with some sadhus. So I said, oh, these kind of sadhus, there are many. You will be glad to know that even in my young age or early age, it was by Krishna's grace that even amongst my young friends, I was considered the leader. Prabhupada was the leader. In my school days, in my college days, in my private friendship, some way or other, I became their leader. And one astrologer, he read my hand. He said in Hindi, after reading my hand, Hukum chalega. Hukum chalega means your hand speaks that your hukum, your order, chalega, will be executed. Devotees Jai. Srila Prabhupada. So anyway, it was Krishna's grace. I would not go, but their point of view was that unless I certify that sadhu, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he will not be accepted by my friends. Therefore, my friend dragged me. So I went to see Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur on that day. In the first meeting, as we were offering our obeisances, it is the practice. So, as we were offering our obeisances, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur immediately began his talking and he said, "You are all educated young men. Why don't you take up Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's cult and preach all over the world, all over the English knowing people? Why don't you take up this matter?" So I argued with him in so many ways. At that time, I was nationalist. So I told Bhaktisiddhanta, who will accept our message? We are a dependent nation. Nobody will care. In this way, in my own way, in the younger days, this is how I presented. But we belong to the Vaishnava family. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda, Radha Govinda, that is our worshipable deity. So I was very glad that Radha Krishna cult, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's cult, this sadhu is trying to preach. It is very nice. So at that time we had some talks, and of course I was defeated by his arguments. I was defeated. And then when we came out, we were offered prasadam, very nice treatment we received. Very nice treatment we received at the Gaudiya Math. And when I came out on the street, this friend asked me, "So what is your opinion of this sadhu?" Then I said that here is the right person who has taken up Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message, and now Mahaprabhu's message will be distributed. Devotees Jai. Prabhupada. So I was at that time a fool, but I opined like this, and I accepted him as my spiritual master immediately. Srila Prabhupada ki. I accepted him as my spiritual master immediately, not officially, but in my heart. That was in 1922. That was Prabhupada's first meeting. Now, Prabhupada's second meeting with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, this time in Vrindavan. This is from Prabhupada's Leelamrita. In October of 1932, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati led a group of hundreds of disciples and pilgrims on a month-long parikrama or circumambulation of the sacred places of Vrindavan. Vrindavan residents and visitors perform parikrama by following the old dry bed of the Yamuna river and circumambulating the Vrindavan area, stopping at the places where Krishna performed his pastimes when he roamed in Vrindavan 5,000 years ago. Abhay had wanted to attend Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's parikrama, but couldn't because of his work. Nevertheless, On the 20th day of the pilgrimage, he travelled from Allahabad, intent on seeing Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati again and hoping to join the parikrama party at Kosi, which was just outside Vrindavan, at least for a day. When Abhay had heard from the members of the Allahabad Gaudiya Math about the parikrama, he had been fully occupied with his local Prayag pharmacy business and travelling to secure new accounts. But he had calculated how he could join at least for a day or two, and he had fixed his mind on again obtaining the darshan of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Srila Prabhupada is saying, I was not initiated at that time of parikrama, but I had very good admiration for these Gaudiya Math people. They were very kind to me. So I thought, what are these people doing in this parikrama? Let me go. So I met them at Kosi, just near Vrindavan. So I met them in Kosi, and Keshav Maharaj was informing that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta is going to Mathura tomorrow morning, and he will speak Hari Katha this evening. Anyone who wants, so he announced, anyone who wants to remain may remain, or otherwise they may go to see Sheshashai Vishnu. So at that time, I think only 10 or 12 men remained to hear Bhaktisiddhanta. Sridhar Maharaj was one of them, and the rest went to see Sheshashai Vishnu in the parikrama. So I thought it wise, what can I see at the Sheshashai? Let me hear what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati will speak. Let me hear. When Abhay arrived, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was already speaking. He sat with his back erect, a shawl around his shoulders, not speaking like a professional lecturer giving a scheduled performance, but addressing a small gathering in his room. At last, Abhay was in his presence again. Abhay marveled to see and hear him, this unique soul possessed of Krishna Katha, speaking uninterruptedly about Krishna in his deep, low voice, in ecstasy and deep knowledge. Abhay sat and heard Bhaktisiddhanta with rapt attention. An hour went by, 2 hours went by. The already small gathering in Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's room gradually thinned. A few sannyasis left, excusing themselves to tend to the duties connected with the parikrama camp. Only a few handful intimate leaders remained who were hearing Bhaktisiddhanta, and Abhay was the only outsider. Of course, he was a devotee, not an outsider, but in the sense that he was not a sannyasi and was not handling any duties in Gaudiya Math, was not even initiated, and was not travelling with the parikrama, but had joined only for a day. In that sense, he was an outsider. The philosophy Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was speaking was, however, was democratically open to whoever would give an ardent hearing. And that Abhay was doing. He was giving an ardent hearing. Abhay was listening with wonder. Sometimes he would not even understand something, but he would go on listening intently, submissively, his intelligence drinking in the words of Bhakti Siddhanta. He felt Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati revealing to him the direct vision of the spiritual world. Just as a person reveals something by opening a door or by pushing aside a curtain, he was revealing the reality. And this reality was loving service to the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna, the supremely worshipable personality of Godhead. How masterfully Bhaktisiddhanta spoke, and with utter conviction and boldness. It was with such awe that Abhay listened with fastened attention. Of course, all Vaishnavas accepted Krishna as the worshipable Lord. But how conclusively and with what sound logic was the faith of the Vaishnavas established by this great teacher, Bhaktisiddhanta? After several hours, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati stopped speaking. Abhay felt prepared to go on listening without cessation. And yet he had no puzzling doubts or queries to place forward. He only wanted to hear more. As Srila Bhaktisiddhanta made his exit, Abhay bowed, offered his obeisances, and then left the intimate circle of sannyasis in their row of tents and went to the outer circle of tents, his mind surcharged with the words of his spiritual master. That was the second meeting. First meeting in Kolkata, second meeting in Vrindavan, and now the third meeting in Allahabad. This is also from volume 1 of Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. Abhay had only recently returned from his second meeting from Vrindavan. He had returned to his work at Prayag Pharmacy when the devotees at the Allahabad Gaudiya Math informed him of a good news. They had secured land and funds for constructing a building, the Rupa Gaudiya Math. Every Gaudiya Math has a name like this, Chaitanya Gaudiya Math, Rupa Gaudiya Math, like that. And Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta would be coming to Allahabad on November 21st to preside over the ceremony for laying of the cornerstone. Sir William Malcolm Haley, Governor of the United Provinces, would be the respected guest and, in a grand ceremony, would lay the foundation stone in the presence of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. When Abhay learned that there would also be an initiation ceremony, he asked if he could be initiated. Atulananda, the Math's president, assured Abhay that he would introduce him to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. At home, Abhay discussed his initiation plans with his wife. She had no objection, but she did not want to take initiation herself. They were already worshipping the deity at home and offering their food to the deity. They believed in God and were living peacefully. But for Abhay, that was not enough. Although he would not force his wife, he knew that he must be initiated by a pure devotee. Avoiding sinful life, living piously, these things were necessary and good, but in themselves they did not constitute spiritual life and could not satisfy the yearning of the soul. Life's ultimate goal and the absolute necessity of the self was love of Krishna. That love of Krishna, his father had already inculcated within him, and now he had to take the next steps. His father would have been pleased to see him do it regarding initiation, accepting a spiritual master. And by taking initiation from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Abhay would be linked with Krishna. Bhaktisiddhanta, son of Bhakti Vinod Thakur and disciple of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, was the guru in the 12th disciplic generation from Lord Chaitanya. He was the foremost Vedic scholar of the age, the expert Vaishnava who could guide one back to Godhead. He was empowered by his predecessor to work for the highest welfare by giving everyone Krishna consciousness, the remedy for all sufferings. Abhay felt that he had already accepted Srila Bhaktisiddhanta as a spiritual master, and that from the very first meeting he had already received his orders. Now, if Srila Bhaktisiddhanta would accept him as his disciple, the relationship would be confirmed. He was coming so soon after Abhay had seen him and heard him in Vrindavan. That was how Krishna acted, through his representative. It was as if his spiritual master is coming to where Abhay had his family and business and was coming to draw him further into spiritual life. Without Abhay's having attempted to bring it about, his relationship with Bhaktisiddhanta was deepening. Now Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was coming to him as if by a higher arrangement. On the day of the ceremony, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati met with his disciples at the Allahabad Gaudiya Math on South Malacca Street. While he was speaking Hari Katha and taking questions, Atulananda Brahmachari took the opportunity to present several devotees, Abhay amongst them, as a candidate for initiation. The Allahabad devotees were proud of Mr. De, Abhay Charan De, who regularly attended the matha in the evening and led bhajans, listened to the teachings and spoke them himself, and often brought respectable guests. He had contributed money and had induced his business colleagues also to do so. With folded palms, Abhay looked up humbly at his spiritual master. He and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta were now face to face. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta recognized him and was visibly pleased to see him. He already knew him. Yes, he said, exchanging looks with Abhay. He likes to hear. He does not go away. I have marked him. I will accept him as my disciple. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta ki. As the moment and the words became impressed into his being, Abhay was in ecstasy. Because Bhaktisiddhanta immediately said that I will accept him. Atulananda was pleasantly surprised that his Gurudeva was already in approval of Mr. De. Other disciples in the room were also pleased to witness Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's immediate acceptance of Mr. De as a good listener. Some of them wondered when or where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta had arrived at such an estimation of the young pharmacist. At the initiation, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was seated on a Vyasasana, and the room was filled with guests and members of the Gaudiya Math. Those to be initiated sat around a small mound of earth, where one of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur sannyasis prepared a fire and offered grains and fruits into the flames, while everyone chanted mantras for purification. Abhay's sister and his brother were also present, but not his wife. Abhay basked in the presence of his Gurudeva. Yes, he likes to hear the words of his spiritual master, and his glance of recognition had remained with Abhay. Abhay would continue pleasing his spiritual master by hearing well. Then Abhay thought, I will be able to speak well. The Vedic literature described 9 processes of devotional service, the first of which was Shravanam, hearing about Krishna. Then came Kirtanam, chanting about and glorifying Him by sitting patiently and hearing. At Kosi, he had pleased Krishna's representative. And when Krishna's representative was pleased, Krishna was pleased. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had not praised him for donating money to the matha and hadn't advised him to forsake his family business and travel with him, nor had he asked Abhay to perform great austerities like the yogis who mortify their bodies with fasts and difficult vows. But he likes to hear. He had said, I have marked him. Abhay thought about it and again listened carefully as his spiritual master conducted the initiation. Finally, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta called for Abhay to come forward and receive the Harinam initiation by accepting his beads, just like we do the main temple. After offering prostrated obeisances, Abhay extended his right hand and accepted the strand of japa beads from the hands of his spiritual master. At the same time, he also received the sacred Brahmanical thread signifying second initiation. Usually Srila Bhaktisiddhanta gave the first initiation, Harinam, and only after some time, when he was satisfied with the progress of his disciple, would he give the second initiation. But he offered Abhay both initiations at the same time. Srila Prabhupada ki. Now Abhay was a full-fledged disciple, a Brahmana, who could perform sacrifices such as this fire yagna for initiation. He could worship the deities in the temple and would be expected to discourse widely. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta added Aravinda, lotus, to his name, and now Abhay was Abhay Charanaravinda. After Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati left Allahabad for Calcutta, Abhay keenly felt the responsibility of working on behalf of his spiritual master. At the initiation, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta had instructed Abhay to study Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which outlined the loving exchanges between Krishna and his devotees and explained how a devotee can advance in spiritual life. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu was a law book for devotional service, and Abhay would study it carefully. This is the nectar of devotion that Prabhupada translated. He was glad to increase his visits to the Allahabad center and to bring new people. Even at his first meeting with his spiritual master, he had received the instruction to preach the mission of Lord Chaitanya, and now he began steadily and carefully considering how to do so. Preaching was a responsibility at least as binding as that of home and business. Preaching was a responsibility at least as binding as that of home and business. Even in his home, he wanted to engage as far as possible in preaching. In another place, Srila Prabhupada is recollecting. So anyway, from 1922 to 1930, so 1922 he met his spiritual master for the first time, and 1933 he got officially initiated. So Prabhupada is saying, from 1922 to 1933, practically I was not initiated, but I got the impression of preaching Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's cult that I was thinking, and that was the initiation by my Guru Maharaj. In another place, in 1933, I was officially initiated, and my only qualification was when I was introduced to my Guru Maharaj for initiation. So Guru Maharaj immediately said, "Yes, I shall initiate this boy. He is very nice. He hears me very patiently. He does not go away." So that was my qualification. Prabhupada further writes, the high standard of philosophy which Bhaktisiddhanta was speaking at that time, practically I could not follow what he was speaking, but still I liked to hear him. That was my hobby, hearing Bhaktisiddhanta, even though he was not understanding. When I was asking always that, when Guru Maharaj will speak? So Abhay, so he's writing, so he took it very seriously. Bhaktisiddhanta took it very seriously. So these are some of the recollections of Srila Prabhupada, how he met Bhaktisiddhanta first time in Kolkata, and then finally he met him in Allahabad, and he got initiated in the year 1933. This was the day that he received the first and the second initiation, and that's how we are observing today Srila Prabhupada Diksha Divas. We'll end here. Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki, Srila Prabhupada Diksha Divas ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande.